Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be going over a branded Dracotail list, a 50 card list, and this is what I think is the best version of branded Dracotail. So let's get into it. So obviously we have the star of the show, we have branded fusion, and we have four other ways to get to branded fusion here. So branded opening and a luber. So branded opening, the protection effect comes up all the time, all the damn time. So having destruction protection for your fusions is insane. So the next part is fusion deployment and blazing Cartesia. Fusion deployment is a heavy hitter. It's really good to side out too, but it's fantastic turboing out Cartesia and then fusing with all your Dracotails in hand. So, you know, from one card, we trigger all our fusions. It gives us a fusion outlet, which, you know, I think the Dracotail deck needs another way to fuse outside of the Dracotail stuff. So the next part of the engine, obviously we have the Albaz, we have the Lobelion, we have the Albion the Shrouded Dragon, we have the Quem, we have the Saronir, we have the Lost, we have the Retribution. Everything here comes up. Now, one thing that could potentially be cuttable, you know, going into the Retribution, obviously this is a big old brick, but you know, it's important if we're prioritizing branded access. This is just part of the engine, unfortunately. So, you know, in a 50 card build, you kind of drown the bricks a little bit more, but as long as you see two engine pieces, either a Dracotail engine or a branded engine, then you can go insane and go full combo here. So, you know, a big fan of these cards. Really raises the ceiling of the Dracotail deck, facilitates a fusion summon, facilitates dark plays, you know, because, you know, all of these are darks. The one Quem is amazing because once you do go Mirror Jade, you could banish with Titaniclad and turbo it out. You could recycle it with Secretarion. The synergy is just so insane that, you know, I think this is one of the best ways to run Dracotail, if not the best. So a lot of people run Saronir and Albion at 3, but I didn't want, you know, even at 50, if we increase the deck count, is it going to make it more consistent, or are we going to lose? Are we going to see our side deck much less, and potentially lose to a Herald of the Arclight just sitting there, you know, or you know, bricking on multiple of these isn't going to help me combo off more. Seeing these more often isn't necessarily, you know, what I'm after. They're great in the deck because they're searchable, but if I start with them, you know, it's not the best in my starting hand. So, you know, that's why I opted to play 1-1. Now the second Fallen of Albaz definitely comes up. But it is recyclable with Secretarion, so in favor of bricking less, I opted just for one Albaz. You know, I definitely don't want to see it in my opening hand. It's not the worst thing, but it's definitely not the best thing. So that's the branded portion of the deck. The next thing is going to be the standard cookie cutter Dracotail cards. So the same 19 cards. 3, 6, 9, 1-1. These are the best ones to fuse with, obviously, but running multiple like Jesse Cotton isn't my favorite thing because they don't facilitate a fusion summon on their own. Obviously 33. And now let's get into the non-engine. So the great thing about Dracotail is you could run hand traps in it. Now, Ash Blossom is amazing. A lot of people say this is the worst card in their deck, but I think it's necessary. Every card in this deck loses to Ash Blossom. So we run Crossout, obviously. We run Called By, and Ash is just really strong in select choke points. Obviously, it stops Charmies too. So for that reason alone, this is a staple. We have 3 Purulia and 3 Fuwalos. Now, I love Purulia in the main. I love Fuwalos in the main. That's a staple, obviously. But Purulia especially too, because some decks lose really hard to Purulia. And on top of that, going first, it's fine because we could fuse with it. So it's definitely not a brick in that instance. But just since this is an engine deck, the more cards you have in your hand, the better equipped you are to break the board, to set up your follow-up, to do everything you need to do. So maining Perulia, I think, is very important in this branded Dracotail deck. So every card in our deck loses to Ash. So, you know, we run the cross out, we run the called by. These are staples. You know, ashing the branded fusion, oh, it's terrible. But now we have another called by the grave in the form of cross out designator. So literally, Keto can be ashed. Even our traps, even our interruptions can be ashed. Every single thing can be ashed. So, you know, it's terrible. So in order to mitigate that weakness, we use called by, we use cross out. And the last three cards are 3 Book of Eclipse. Now you might say, why are you running Book of Eclipse? Well, you know, there's many reasons, and the 2 biggest reasons are Herald of the Arclight. It's a proactive way to force out a negate. This could be Ash 2, by the way, which really sucks. But this is a proactive way to get rid of Herald, and when you're going second into the K9 Vanquish Soul board, their board doesn't interact very well with Book of Eclipse because I could book everything face down. It's also really good against Fiendsmith decks. So it'll stop the Caesar, it'll stop the Ripper, and it'll stop the Umbral Horror Masquerade. So on top of that, you can dodge Imperm, you can dodge Veilers. So I didn't see a reason not to run this card because it breaks boards. It breaks boards, helps me dodge Imperm. It helps solve a problem that the deck has, which is Herald, which is going second against these oppressive boards. And I could fuse face down, so my cards don't actually mind getting put face down. So this card, I would not cut it. Certain matchups, obviously, it's really bad, such as Malice, such as, you know, the Mirror Match, any fusion decks. Orcust, it's really bad against, you know, those kinds of decks. But I would not cut this. It's a great card to side out, if anything. But the fact that it's proactive and it solves the Herald problem, I think it's worth running. And so that's the main deck. And we have 50 cards in the main. So as for the extra deck, let's get into that. So we run the 1 Light and Darkness Dragon. It does come up, especially because of the heavier branded package. This is available more often. We run Chaos Star Source. Amazing card. We're running a lot more darks. We're running a lot of potential to pop 2 cards. We're running the Grand Guignol. It's very rare we summon this, actually. But it's important to have in the extra deck. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to run Fusion Deployment without it. So we're running the two dragons here, Secretarion and Mysterion. Both of these come up. This one comes up all the time, actually, because we're running Quem. We can recycle our Albaz. It's a floodgate against other dragon and spellcaster decks. Phenomenal. This is a staple moving forward for every Dracotail deck, for every branded deck. So, you know, beautiful card, and definitely worth running. Mysterion is the same. You know, Mysterion comes up all the time. You know, it's hard for Yummy to play around this. There's going to be a time where, you know, they don't have access to Synchro away, one of their special summon Yummies, and it gets banished, and so does every other Light Beast. So very important. For the branded dragons, we're running Lubellion. So obviously we're going to send Mululu. Breaks boards, really important. We have the Albion. Albion's going to get much better when Doom of Dimensions comes out because we have a light, finally, a light Dracotail to fuse with. And so it's going to get so insane in the future. We have the Mirror Jade. Really premium removal, really premium card. If it's removed, obviously, this is a great way to also get over towers like monsters. Well, you know, you can't exactly do it on Lunalight, but it'll help get rid of a Chaos Angel, a Psychic End Punisher, those kinds of things. The Titanic Clad is here for two reasons. For the Quem, we get turbo out the Quem from the deck. And another reason is Lunalight. So, you know, we want to beef up our Titanic Clad as much as possible. It's kind of difficult to get it since we're not running Nibiru in the main. But, you know, that would be in addition to, you know, to have it gain 15 and run that over. So 8 plus 4 is 12. So the highest you can get this up to is 37 in the deck. If you use Light and Darkness Dragon, it's a little bit higher. But, you know, it's still important to run in the deck. We're running the Rinbrum. Rinbrum is amazing. Comes up all the time against Yummy. Sometimes instead of going Lebellion, Albion, sometimes I'll either go straight into Mirror Jade or I'll go into Rinbrum. So, you know, fantastic card, gives you follow-up, doesn't banish your Albaz, so, you know, big plus. And the Dracotail names, we're running the 3 Arthalion and the 2 Gulamel. Second Gulamel comes up, so, you know, since we're fusing all the time, you know, sometimes Rahu and Ketu, you know, the best ones to fuse with are these two, honestly. So just the second one comes up too much for me to want to cut this, but this, you know, would be the most cuttable card in the extra deck. This and this would be the most cuttable cards. This comes up maybe 5 to 10% of the games. But when it comes out, it's like GG's. It's very difficult for the opponent to play through 3 Omni Negates. And since people are on hand traps and not board breakers, you know, it just becomes even better. So that's the extra deck. Now let's get into the side deck. Side deck, we have the Nibiru, we have the 2 Droll, Rivalry, and there can be only one. So I wanted something amazing to side out for Charmies, siding out the Charmies. The Nibiru is amazing against a lot of decks, honestly. So, you know, if I know I'm going first, I'm siding out the Nibiru. I'm siding out the Charmies, putting in the Nibirus, the Drolls, and one of these. Because one of these is GG's against a lot of the main decks. This is great against Canine Vanquisher. It's like GG's, and I could play around it decently well. There can be only one. Obviously, it doesn't affect us at all. And, well, it affects us a little bit, but it's easy enough to overcome. We play around it very, very well. So this is great against Yummy. This is great against Canine Vanquisher. So, you know, I'll usually side in 3 and 3, one of these, if I know I'm going first. Next up, we have Lancia. Fantastic card. It's not leaving my extra deck because Malice is such a threat. Malice, Canine Crystron, and Orcust, you know, and then some fringe decks here and there. And also, certain decks will side in evenly. So if I know they're on evenly, if I know they're on Pot of Extrav, I'm going to side in the Lancias. Very helpful. Okay, next up, we have Dark Ruler No Mores. So whenever we're facing down against a big old board of Caesar, of Masquerade, of Ripper, you know, any oppressive kind of deck like that, even Yummy, you know, it's really good. Just stopping all the Yummy cards. So a lot of people say, you know, breakers aren't good this format. But honestly, if you're going second, there's no better card that, you know, like the goal of the deck is to fusion summon. If a card is in my way that's stopping me from doing that, this deck is different than a lot of one-card combo decks. This deck will auto-lose to a Herald of the Arclight. It'll auto-lose to a Caesar. It's not like running more hand traps is going to make the deck better because I can't facilitate a fusion summon. If I'm not fusing, I'm losing. And so anything that will stop me from fusing needs to be overcome. And I don't think the answer is more hand traps, because even if my opponent ends on a half board, if that half board includes one of my lose conditions, then, you know, no matter how many, you know, I have to draw like an insane amount of starters. But this is a 2-card combo deck. So, you know, the idea that running more hand traps is going to help me win against, you know, an Omni Negate board is laughable. So, you know, I'm gonna, so I highly recommend, you know, the Dark Ruler No More's. Big fan. It saved me so many times. So, show you how many cards is that. Okay, so two more cards. So this is where I was considering, you know, running Thrust, but the remaining two are going to be Blazing Cartesia, just a second copy, and then a Harpies. So Harpies always goes in, going second. Comes up all the time. You know, the thing is, Yummy is citing in things like Solemn Judgments, so it's always helpful to have that kind of premium removal here. And that's the deck. We'll go over some test hand and show you guys how versatile this deck is. The branded goes into the Dracotail, but the inverse isn't necessarily true. There is obviously a way to bridge into it, but it's, you know, you have to, and it involves Sauronir, and I'm happy to get into how to do that, but it's not optimal. I'm still happy to show you guys exactly how to bridge Dracotail into branded, and we'll do some test hands. Hey everybody, this is going to be a quick show of how to bridge Dracotail into branded. Now, obviously there's the Mercurier way, where you banish Mercurier from the deck using the Trishula fusion, but I don't want to lose 3 dragon bodies, you know, just to get an Aluber normal summon. Aluber normal summon is pretty weak in my opinion, so we're definitely not doing that. So here's the bridge here. We're gonna activate Lubellion. We're gonna search the Sauronir. If you start with Sauronir, you probably won't be able to, because you're gonna need another. You're gonna need the Sauronir to send the branded Retribution. If you're using the Sauronir to send the Lubellion, then you're lacking, you know, one more push to get that, you know, one more extension to get that branded fusion. So we're gonna activate Lubellion. We're gonna add the Sauronir. Here we're gonna use Femina. We're gonna fuse 2 in hand. We're going to get the Arthelion. We're going to chainlink 1, target the Sauronir. We're going to chainlink 2 Mululu to set anything we need. We're going to add this back. Here you can add Ketu or Rahu. I'm just going to add Ketu, make it easy. We won't be activating it. I'll just show you guys how to do the bridge. So actually it'd be better to set Rahu, because that way, once we set up our, we're gonna fusion summon one more time. Once we do that, then we can search off of Lost. We're going to special summon by banishing the Mululu. So the most important thing is having the Mululu to banish. We're going to special. We're gonna activate the Sauronir. Well, actually, we're going to need another card in hand if we want to use the Rahu. So in this example, we'll set the Ketu. So Sauronir is going to activate. We're going to send the Retribution. Lubellion is going to activate. We're going to set the branded Lost. What's neat here is you can even go into Seals before doing your whole fusion summon. You won't be able to activate branded fusion if you do that. But, you know, this is a really good option if you start with, you know, that. So I guess if you start with Lubellion, searching Bystial, then you can branded fusion and you don't go Seals. But if you start with Sauronir, then you won't be able to get branded fusion, in which case you'd be able to go into Seals. So Seals, and then, you know, potentially Rahu if you have a monster in hand. If you don't, then obviously, you know, Ketu is going to be the go-to here. So, all right. So as you can see here, we're gonna activate Ketu. So two things you could do. You could either search for Lucius, or you could search for Femina. So these are your options here. But obviously the point is we have to trigger lost. We have to fuse one more time, right? Now, if you search for Famina, you know, I guess you can fuse into... Okay, if these are your only monsters, you know, this is where Philia Regis would be so amazing. But you could fuse into Chaos Star Source, and that would be really weak, especially if you're not popping a card. If it's turn 1 and you go this, it's kind of a waste. You could go Philia Regis if you want to run that. You know, maybe I'll cut Gulamel and run that. That way I could do this a lot better. So, but let's say you search Lucius, you normal Lucius, you got Famina. Okay, now you have something at least, you know, well, actually, you still can't, you'd be able to go into one of the Secretarions. So actually, that's really nice. Let's do that. So we'll activate Famina. We'll go into Secretarion. Secretarion is the GOAT. We're going to chainlink 1. We're going to chainlink 2. We're going to set the one we didn't use. And we're going to search for our branded fusion access. Albion. We're going to Albion. Albion's going to send the best card in the deck, branded fusion. Oh, here it is. We're going to draw a blank. Oh, look at that. Something we didn't need. We're going to banish. We're going to add the branded fusion. And now we could go crazy. Activate branded fusion. We're actually going to get the Arthalion back because we're dumping 2 cards. So this is the bridge here. You know, you start with, you know, just to reiterate, if you start with Lubellion, you can go branded fusion. But if you start with Saronir in hand, then you can't get to branded fusion, but you can go into seals. And if you have another card in hand, then, you know, you'll be able to fuse away using Rahu after you seals. So that's the bridge here, and you know, nothing too complicated. I'll still do some other test hands so that way you guys can see the deck in action. Question is, do you want to run seals? Because it's going to be very rare that you actually are able to summon seals in a simplified game state. So if you're open to bumping Lubellion and potentially Saronir up in numbers, then yes, I'd run the seals. I'd probably cut one of the Gulamels or even the Light and Darkness because it comes out the least. You know, so, or Philia Regis. So, you know, your extra deck options are Philia Regis, Hermetic Seals, or Light and Darkness Dragon. You know, or the second Gulamel. Ask yourself, you know, what do you value most? You know, do you value that higher ceiling? Do you value the second Gulamel? You know, how often does it come up? And so, and also ask yourself, you know, how many of these do you want to run in the main? Right now, I'm only running 1 and 1. But this would, if you were to increase this to 2, this to 2, then your chances of bricking on it are higher. Your chances of seeing non-engine have been decreased. So that's why I'm only running 1 and 1. But this would be the bridge. I hope it was helpful.